Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we have a brand new guest to talk to about their martial arts and their life in the martial arts and other stuff they're involved in. This week's episode, kind of reading his bio on his website. This gentleman is an author, a speaker, and a trainer, and also a martial artist. He works with Fortune 500 companies, and he's written, I think, 3 books, if I read it correctly, and we'll definitely talk about those too. But please welcome to the show today, Jonathan Pritchard. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, man. Super happy to be here.
Good. And you're in Chicago right now?
Yep. Used to be back in the day. I would say I live on the road and I get my mail in Chicago. But for the past year, I've actually lived at my address. It's a very strange experience.
I suppose. Yeah. The last year has been different. So it's crazy. But so as I do with all my guests, we're going to kind of go back to the beginning. I'd like to know kind of where martial arts started for you. Maybe not necessarily where you started. I mean, when did you first have your interest in martial arts? And then, of course, when did you first get involved in martial arts?
Really, really nerdy, which is G.I. Joes. And my favorite characters, nice. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, man. Like the issues where they were training and there was a whole silent issue where nobody said anything. It's just really cool storytelling. So those were just the coolest characters, and I grew up drawing G.I. Joes. So that was kind of the seed that grew into my art world. That's what I went to college for, is painting. Oh. I've transitioned that into kind of graphic design and branding companies that I've started. So that all gets traced back there too. So the love affair of ninjas was always there, just as silly as it can get. And then in junior high or high school, my best friend, he and I were exactly the same height, the same weight, same build, everything. Difference was he was taking karate, I wasn't. And one day we're in the yard and he just goes, "Hey, punch me." It's like, all right. Like I didn't have to ask why. There was no lead up. I was just like, if you're gonna be dumb enough to ask me to punch you, I'm gonna do it. So I just haul off and punch him. And that's what I planned on doing. And the sky and the ground do this weird tumbly thing. And when I kind of get my wits back, I'm on my back staring up at the sky going, what in the world was that about? And that was just really cool. And that was my response was, oh, I got to learn how to do that. That's a lot of fun. Instead of, oh, you jerk, you tricked me. So that was kind of the start of me bugging my parents, who grew up poor, man. Like I lived in a trailer in North Carolina in the mountains, like in a literal dirt road trailer development. So there wasn't a lot of money for lessons, but yep. Somehow my parents got it together for at least a couple months for me to take Emperor's Long Fist Kung Fu. And that was kind of the beginning of it.
And so what was it about those first few classes that you enjoyed that made you want to stick with it?
Part of it was how crazy the instructor was. Okay. And that seems to be a theme throughout all martial arts times, which is somebody who's going to devote their life to doing this kind of thing. There's a little off upstairs, and it's awesome. Like, to me, that's the main selling point. That is not a problem. So it was just this cool thing to do. Like that was as simple as it was. Like, I didn't have bullies that I had to train like Rocky to learn how to fend for myself. It's just it's really fun getting to learn how to move your body through space and do it in a safe environment where you get to push your limits with people who love you enough to try to punch you in the face
Right.
to impart those lessons. Nothing else does that. So it just seemed like the best thing for me to be doing.
Okay. And how long did you stay with that specific school?
Actually, not that long. That was kind of a short-lived thing. So maybe 6 months or so.
Okay.
And then it's quite a while goes by until I'm in college, and actually after college
Really?
is when I picked it back up. Yeah, because it was kind of one of those, oh, okay, that was fun,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got other things to do. Kind of my main time sink is being a performer,
Mm-hmm.
and the flavor performer that I am is a type of magician called a mentalist. So that's one of those kinds of things where it's just practice all day long, every day. You're doing sleight of hand stuff, you're reading books, you're trying to book gigs, the whole nine yards. So that kind of ate up a lot of time. And also I was really bad at booking gigs, so I was even more poor. So it was just kind of one of those things. And I was at a science conference helping run the thing with my mentor, James Randi, who was organizing the whole thing. And then there was a dude that walked up, and Randy goes, "Oh, I want to introduce you two together because I think you would get along." And turns out that guy knew Wing Chun, and it was super fun. And we start hanging out, and that's how I got back into it.
Nice. And so then how soon after that meeting did you start training again? And was that,
I
yeah.
think it was about 3 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was just we were at a restaurant, that kind of thing, but we started talking, and it was just immediately one of those, yeah, okay, we get each other kind of deals.
So obviously what was it about that? I mean, once you got back into it, what was it about that you missed? I mean, obviously it took pretty quick when you jumped back into it. So what were some of the things you missed that you found right away?
Part of it was how awful I had let my life get,
Okay.
because before that I had gotten married, got fat, got divorced, got fatter, was living on my own. My car got repossessed twice. So not making the best decisions, right? Like
Yep.
not living my best life. And just the real the real cherry on top was one of those times that my car got repossessed was my girlfriend's birthday.
Oh, wow.
I heard the car alarm go off earlier, but I had never heard it before, so I didn't know it was my car crying for help as the repo men were hooking it up.
Man.
So I heard the commotion, and I was like, boy, something sucks out there. And then a couple hours later, hey, let's go out, and hey, where's my car? So that's kind of what I was in the middle of. And then find the dude who I start learning Wing Chun from. And it was having that personal accountability of, look, I don't care what's going on in your life. You can at least run through your form first thing in the morning. So how about that's your goal for excellence today, is did you do your form that you're learning? Okay, I can do that. So it was just getting that structure back, because being a performer, being out on my own, there was zero accountability, and I just let all my standards go, all my what boundaries,
Mhm.
right? So it was rediscovering that and going, oh, okay, this is a laboratory where I can hold myself accountable to at least this standard. And then that became the foundation that allowed me to make better and better choices to start kind of clawing my life back in order.
Okay. And so was this training mostly one-on-one with this person, or were you actually going to a school?
Weirdly, it was online.
Really?
Yeah, he was a dude who was just real early to the online game. and he was based in Hawaii at the time, and I was in Texas. So we would do video calls. Now, I know I've been in this long enough to know that it is not ideal.
Right.
Like, I get it. I'm not one of those weirdos that's going to fight you over it's as good as anything. It's still better than nothing.
True.
Right?
Yep.
Like if all you have are books or YouTube to follow along with, having somebody over video who can say, "Hey, your elbow's out of alignment. Move it more towards your center line," and you've got that real-time feedback. Yes, I totally get it that you're missing out on the proprioceptive feedback of chi sao and that kind of thing. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But better is better than nothing.
Right.
So learning the forms, it was kind of a several stage process, which is the approach was, all right, look, Wing Chun, it's 6 forms. Think of it like choreography. If teenage girls can learn dance moves from Britney Spears, you can learn this. So get to it. So the idea is, all right, first you just learn the choreography. Are you doing the right move in the right sequence? Did you skip a posture or something? Okay, you didn't do it right. So go back to the beginning, start it over. So the whole thing was, all right, here's the video for you to follow along, and then record yourself doing the form, post it, we'll review it, and all we're caring about is, did you do the right postures in the right sequence? If you do, then that's kind of, I'm using this very tongue-in-cheek, so don't come after me. That's your belt test, right? Is, do you know this well enough for you to now learn the next form? So then you move through the whole system, you learn the forms, and then the second time through, you're now worried about, okay, placement, does it look right? Your elbow, you're doing your tansao kind of goofy, right? We know it's a tansao, but it's nowhere near good. So now let's start refining the postures. So you can kind of progress at your own pace. And since I had a lot of free time on my hands, I just kind of blew through it in about 9 months.
Nice.
Because that's what I've spent my time doing, not getting a job, but learning Kung Fu. So that's why
That's great.
I learned it super fast. And then about every 6 months, we'd get together, throw down, and that would be a lot of fun.
Okay, so you actually did get to in-person training too, just not as often as you'd like.
Right, exactly. Okay. So not ideal. Like ideal would be live like a monk, go live on the top of the mountain with your guru, make rice for him, and then spend all day fighting. Like, okay, yeah, sure.
Right.
But what can you do with what you got? Well, that's kind of a lot.
Well, what's funny is, though, I mean, if I would have started these interviews about a year ago, I guarantee everyone I talked to would have been 100% against video training.
Yep.
But now, because of COVID, I mean, guys who were just diehard against it and spoke out, they're like, I had to. And I proved it worked. So it's
right,
like a lot more people would agree with you now. So
exactly. Like, oh, it just took a pandemic for you to shut your mouth.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there's been people doing video training for decades, and a lot of times you're always looked down upon. So then how long did you and this gentleman train together?
It was about 5-6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. There was it's kind of a goofy dismount, and that part is in the family. But yeah, we are no longer training actively.
Okay. And did you replace that with another instructor or another school?
Not really.
Okay.
Like a big part of my approach was to teach is to learn twice. Yep. And that was kind of part of the approach is, listen, never misrepresent who it is and what you're about. Never lie about your skills or anything like that, because you misrepresent yourself, your car's going to get pulled. So always be honest with yourself and others, what your intention is and that kind of thing. So if you're not some guru, don't claim to be one. Don't try to teach people like you're one. And having said that, sharing what it is that you know helps you learn it a second time in a new dimension that you don't necessarily have without that sharing spirit to it.
100%. Yes, I agree.
So I created a meetup group in Chicago, And I never claimed like, come to this school of awesome sauce, recognized 7th generation. Like none of that was ever a thing. It was more of a, hey, I love doing this thing. I want to share it with the world as much as I can. So come hang out. If you're better than me, I'll learn from you. I'm better than you, you'll learn from me. Either way, it'll be a good time.
Nice.
So that was it, right? And then that's been going on for several years. And it was by the lake over the summer, and then when it got too cold or rainy, we just do it at the apartment. And that was a super weird sell to new people. Like, yeah, you want to learn kung fu, come to my apartment. You're like, I don't, that sounds super janky. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But we had women there, we had dudes there. Just it was a really cool eclectic group of people who would come out. And then we found a gym, and then that's where we were until the happening happened of 2020. And it was goofy to me the number of people who are in this world to be like in the martial arts world for self-defense, who then like are saying, oh, all of this danger is made up, so let's just keep doing in-person stuff. I was like, that's a very cavalier attitude.
Yep.
Like, I think there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt that is stoked through those narratives to help sell the fear. That doesn't mean the thing's not real.
Right.
So I wasn't as gung-ho about ignoring any potential downsides. So I just was like, listen, folks, we're going to do online stuff every Sunday, same time. So this is my roots. I know how to do this. We'll still be able to gather, but the in-person dynamic is less than attractive to me. So thank you, but no thank you. And then kind of shut it down.
So then on average, once you opened, how long did it take you to start attracting people? What did you do to kind of get the word out and stuff?
Weirdly, that was never part of my goal.
Okay.
So I have very, very little useful insight on that front. Kind of part of my goal was to make sure I didn't have a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of one of those things of I do have a lot of irons in the one fire that I have, which is being curious about being alive.
Right.
And it's kind of like the woodworking world. If you've got a lot of tools, those tools now require a lot of maintenance and upkeep. And before you know it, you're spending more time sharpening your chisels and making sure everything is just so, and you're tidying up, and you spent zero time actually making something. So every tool comes with the responsibility of maintaining it. If I built a big school or a huge community, it's on me to maintain it. And I never wanted it to grow large enough for the people who were willing to show up to feel like I was giving them short shrift.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, so it was more of, okay, who are the few people who I jive with really well, who I can actually provide value to, and I'm not going to be too worried about being approachable or any kind of marketable angle. It's more of, if you think this is cool in the weird way I'm doing it, awesome. We're going to have a great time together. But I never spent any energy proactively trying to present it as, hey, everybody, this is what you should do. Right? Because also an extra dimension to that is, yeah, I didn't want people who were looking for a martial arts school to be confused about what it is that I was putting out there.
Okay.
So that was part of kind of not the plan, but the intentional lack of a plan for strategic growth.
So have you ever had any interest in looking at other styles and trying to broaden the horizons of your martial arts skills and stuff? Or are you pretty much happy and content with just studying Wing Chun?
I am super happy studying Wing Chun.
Okay.
Mainly because it does what I need it to do. And I'm also not one of those Wing Chun dudes who's like, there's nothing valuable in any other system. And it's just like, you just look like a real goofball there, guy. So for me, the wooden dummy is a phenomenal training partner. It's an incredible tool to learn a lot of what you would be looking for in a lot of other situations. And the principles that the wooden dummy is teaching you is also super applicable on the ground. It's just that your orientation to gravity is different.
Okay.
The
Interesting.
angles are still very, very similar. So when you're watching grappling
Mm-hmm.
and doing kind of groundwork, there's a lot of vocabulary around it of this is the wizard, this is the this and that, and they have their own kind of names and labels. The Wing Chun postures are a very dense ability to communicate a lot of information very quickly. So if you're going, hey, a Darce is a Bonsao to Tonsao with a Bonsao other hand, you can communicate a lot of that stuff very quickly. A
Nice.
lot of the Wing Chun world is missing out on that.
Okay.
Their insistence of this is a stand-up only thing, and it's ignoring a, a huge dimension to the experience. But if they were able to realize, oh, okay, the wooden dummy form is basically a grappling form done standing up, but you're learning shrimping, it's just called a pivot. Oh, okay. They would be able to unlock a lot of what's there already without thinking, oh, I got to go somewhere else to fill in. It's more of a, your body already knows it, just work on unfolding what it is you've already been putting into your body. If that's going to train at another school, great. For me personally, one of the big reasons is it's tough for me to trust other people that much.
Okay.
I'm a performer, I'm a magician. Like, I can literally do things with playing cards at a world class level, and people having their pinkies taped up because, oh yeah, it just got caught on a gi and snapped, and it's all good. Like, thank you, but no thank you.
Right.
I want to train to develop myself, not feel better in context to my skills compared to somebody else. So I for several reasons just don't have that same kind of itch to go learn from other schools.
Oh, that's a great answer, actually. So I'm kind of curious now. I mentioned at the beginning you've written a few different books, and you read two of them, "Think Like a Mind Reader" and "Learn Like a Mind Reader." Sound very interesting, and I'm actually thinking of ordering them because they're kind of cool. But the one I'm really curious and want to chat about is Wing Chun Life Physics. Just talk a little bit about that book and how it came about.
It came about because I was following my now fiance around the house talking nonstop, and I had dry erase markers in the bathroom so I could write on the wall so I wouldn't forget an idea, and I could write on the mirrors so I wouldn't forget something. And it was just all this stuff was in my head and it had to get out. So I write books to exercise my demons.
Okay.
It's basically how I think about it,
Nice.
because I become possessed by these ideas and concepts and relationships that I don't see expressed in the same way anywhere else. And then it just fills up so much of my space, my mental space, my life attention, just the whole 9 yards. And then I go, okay, I have to put this in a book so that the ideas will feel heard and live in a place that's not me. So
Okay.
that's why I have to write the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what can people expect if they if they order that book? What are they, just a brief overview of kind of what the book covers and what it's about and what they'll enjoy about it.
If you go looking for here's how the form goes, please don't buy it. There's no technique in it at all.
Okay.
Like, it is not a here's how to do this, here's how to do that. That's not it in any way, shape, or form. For me, it was building a case for Wing Chun like it's a mathematical proof.
Okay.
The general idea for me is there are very few universal principles. They're universal because no matter where you go, they're going to apply mass, momentum, gravity, those kinds of fundamental boundaries of our reality. The human pattern is pretty much the same. There's local variations. Your forearm might be longer, you might be taller, I might be heavier, lighter, I don't know. But we've got bilateral symmetry. Our elbow is where the elbow goes, the shoulder's where the shoulder goes for millions of billions of people. Okay. Given that you've got universal principles and a human pattern, there are better and worse strategies for aligning the human pattern to those universal forces. And throughout all human history, there have been people who are just good at doing that. And then they live through the village wars long enough to where there's no glory in killing that guy. He's an old dude. Sure, back in his day, he was awesome, but now, just be embarrassing. Well, that dude is now tasked with, you know what? You should probably teach how you do what you do to everybody else here because the young bucks need to know how you did what you do. Well, they were good at being awesome. That doesn't mean they were great at being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So then you've got different strategies for imparting the ability to align your body with physics. So then you get reasoning from analogy. Move like a tiger. You've got be strong like a bear, be ferocious, right? And when you reason by analogy, you're introducing a lot of space for error in transcription errors.
Okay.
So it's just kind of learning how physics works and then building up to cause and effect, and then the human pattern, that then being a foundation to understand mental, emotional game, and then the most abstract is energy. So that's why energy gurus or people claiming to shoot chi bullets and they can't even manage the physical layer. Like, yeah, I think that's why it's kind of built in that way.
Okay. It sounds very interesting. I'll have to check that one out. Let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Now, you know, of course, you said your full-time job, you're a performer, you're a speaker type thing. What types of things you learned from martial arts, and how do you bring martial arts into that part of your life, you think?
All of it. Like there's not one thing that I do that isn't kung fu.
Nice.
To me, it's a way of being.
Okay.
So it's not just it's not a jacket you put on and then you kind of go, well, that was comfy. Now it's time to put off the kung fu jacket. No, it's just like, it is what you are. It's who you become. It's everything you do. So a big part of what I do in the corporate world is as a speaker and a consultant for marketing strategy is basically it. All right, you got a business. You've got people who could use what it is that you do. How do you get more business? What do? You've got limited resources. The benefits to your business, how well your business performs, is dictated by the strategy you employ. Hey, that sure sounds like martial arts.
Yeah.
Right? Then there's personal coaching of, Sally was being mean to me. Like, okay, all of my consulting, whatever problem somebody puts in front of me gets translated to somebody's trying to punch me in the face in this way. What would I do about it? And then just retranslating that strategy into their corporate speak, and it's genius. They're just going, my goodness, this is such valuable insight. Where do you come up with these things?
So how much did you see then as far as your career, how much did that change then after you got back involved with Wing Chun after not doing it for so long?
Night and day.
Okay, nice.
Night and day. Because like I said, the choices I was making led to my car getting repossessed.
Right.
And now I've traveled the world, worked with BP, State Farm, United Airlines. I've got phenomenal client lists and get to work on the coolest projects and problems. Just I am over the moon ecstatic with my life. And it's all because of my ongoing daily practice of embodying what Wing Chun is.
That's great. And obviously that's, one of the martial arts where there's some martial arts that are a lot more physical, where you can only do them until maybe a certain age. But obviously with Wing Chun, that's a lifelong thing. You're going to keep doing that till you're in your 90s, probably.
It's strategic laziness, man.
Yeah.
Like, why, if I got to work at 95%, why in the world did I take on that project? Like, I want to work at 5% and get 100% benefit from it. So I want to work as little as possible to get as much benefit as possible. That's the principle of leverage.
Nice. Strategic laziness. I love that.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not working to work harder, man. Like, I want to work really, really hard to not have to do a thing. Like, that's really cool, is to practice super hard so that you don't even have to lift a finger. That's phenomenal. Like, yep, let's do it that way.
Nice. So kind of some fun questions type things, but what is some advice you'd give someone who approached you and said they're thinking of getting involved in martial arts? What are some tips you'd give them, and maybe what to look for or what to consider?
I have a 3-phase approach to that.
Okay.
And it's exactly the same thing from back in my performing days, because I do a 70-minute mind reading show. It's volunteers from the audience. Nothing is preset. It's all real time. It's hilarious and totally mind-blowing.
Nice.
That's still a big part of what I do. Then people come up to me afterwards and they go, "How in the world did you do that?" So it's exactly the same situation. Somebody comes to me and goes, "Oh, I've been interested in martial arts. I think I want to learn martial arts."
Okay.
Exact same situation. So then I go, "Oh, that's great. What have you tried?" And then they go, "Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of been a thing." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, dude, it'd be great. You'll find something perfect." And that's it. Right?
Nice.
And then, or if they go, "Oh, I just haven't known where to start, but I think I want to try this kind of thing." Then I would say, "Oh, well then you probably want to check out this book or that book. And those will be your best places to start, because on YouTube it could be anything, really difficult to know what a quality filter is, but books have withstood the test of time, so start there." And then they go, "Oh, that's great." If they follow up with me, that's even better.
Mm-hmm.
But the third kind of level is, "Okay, what have you tried?" "Oh, I've kind of read these books, and also I went out and did this, but I didn't like that about it. Now I know, oh, okay, they're actually going to do this without my involvement, so my insight won't be wasted."
Okay.
So then if they've demonstrated initiative on their own, then good luck shutting me up. I'm going to talk their ear off, right? Like,
Yep.
we're going to go out for coffee, then dinner, and then we're going to hang out on Sundays, right? So it's that kind of level of initiative that they demonstrate. Is it just a casual, "This is the only way I know how to relate to Jonathan because he says he's into Kung Fu, so I have to say I'm interested in Kung Fu so that we have shared space"? Okay, that's cool. I just know that you're probably lying to yourself.
Right.
And you can lie to yourself all day long, but you're not going to lie to me. So that's my polite way of not saying you have no interest. If you actually were interested, you would have already done it by now. So like, you're wasting your time trying to tell me you're interested in a thing you've not spent 5 minutes looking into. But I appreciate your best strategy for finding common ground with me.
Nice. I like that. So what are your thoughts on the whole MMA craze and the UFC type thing?
I like it as a crucible for big talk getting hammered out.
Okay.
It's a phenomenal dynamic for the people who are making a living talking a big game about, "I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm a phenomenal fighter," and like, okay, well, go for it. Like, me personally, I will never claim to do that. Like, my goal is to, I don't have the goal of becoming an Olympic level athlete to go beat on people that have spent their whole life learning how to hurt me. Like, to me, that is not the pinnacle of my martial arts achievement.
Right.
I have massive, massive respect for anybody who trains enough, who has enough gumption to go stand in the ring where most people never dare to go. Yeah, my hat's off to anybody who is brave or stupid enough to go in with the training or without it. Like, that's a huge achievement either way. And a couple of my friends are professional MMA fighters, and they're just awesome dudes. So I definitely appreciate the value that it's bringing to the martial arts world. Part of the counterpoint to that is that dynamic isn't the only way to engage with martial arts or to improve yourself. It's not the only way to measure success as a human being, as a martial artist. And the overwhelming pressure to only judge your personal development in terms of, well, how many times did you go in the ring, is a twisted measurement to me.
Okay. So then in your over decade or so of martial arts training and Wing Chun training, is there one or two particular philosophies that you've learned from it that you really kind of respect and hold true to yourself?
No punch, no grab.
Okay.
That's it. The adage of invite what comes, escort what goes, rush forward upon loss of contact is kind of my mantra. Don't fight it. It's like from the improv world, improv comedy, there's the idea of yes and. You never go, hey, no, that's not a good joke. Try this instead. You're like, well, that just busted the whole scene. That wasn't funny at all. Also, side note, improv drives me nuts. So please don't think I'm an active fan of this. It's a thing that's a phenomenal tool. Anyway, back to the point, which is whatever happens in the scene, you act like, yeah, and also this happened. So you don't fight it to try to make it go a particular way. You're going with the scene and you yes and, or you amplify and agree, the same kind of idea. So don't try to fight the situation. Don't ignore it. Don't try to say it's not what it is. So first you have to be able to see exactly what the situation is, and then help the other person destroy themselves. That's really all you're doing. They want to go that way? Here, let me help you go that way. Oh, you want to go this way? Well, I'm going to help you go this way. And by virtue of that person trying to hurt you, they're already hurting themselves. You're just not stopping them from doing what it is they want, which is to destroy themselves.
Okay. So do you have a favorite martial artist or a martial artist that you look up to?
Ooh. God, oh, man. For the longest time, I just loved Anderson Silva.
Oh, nice.
He's just phenomenal. Like, I at that time, I wasn't an MMA fan. I was a fan of Anderson Silva, and then would make sure that I would go to a Buffalo Wild Wings to go watch him anytime he was fighting.
Yep.
He was so goofy, and it was so smart until it wasn't.
Right.
But I loved that he was him, right? He wasn't trying to be the all around best. He wasn't trying to do a lot of groundwork to try to beat ground people at ground game. He was like, here's what I'm great at, and I'm going to work to be even better at that to make everybody else scared of me. Like, that was awesome. That was a really cool approach. So he was just so much fun to watch move. His movement was just phenomenal. So yeah, those were kind of my favorite fight days. And the other person would be John Fitch, who recently retired.
Yep.
His dedication to excellence is unparalleled. So full disclosure, we've talked, we know each other's name. So it's if there were an affiliate thing, it'd be like, full disclosure, I've actually been on his podcast. He's been on my podcast.
Very cool.
Yeah, he's just a super cool dude, and I'm impressed by him. So yeah.
So then, other than your own, do you have a favorite martial arts book?
The one that I seem to keep going back to is Book of the Five Rings.
Oh, great book.
And I have a problem. Every time there's a new translation, a new edition, it's like, let me check this one out. So I keep buying copies and then giving them away, and it's kind of like a magic hat you try to throw away and it shows up again. That book continually makes its way back into my life.
I'd say about every third guest I've had has probably mentioned that book at least once. It's definitely up there as one of the that one, I think, and Zen and the Martial Arts by Joe Hyams are probably the two most commented books that when I ask people that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance totally transformed my life and set that mold for Zen and the art of archery. And so
Nice.
in that way, that might be a great martial arts book because it's the progenitor of all the martial arts knockoff versions. So yeah, I like that one too.
Might have to check that one out. So, and kind of a last fun kind of two-part question to wrap it up. Do you have a favorite martial arts TV show and or favorite martial arts movie?
Oh man.
Maybe a guilty pleasure or something, or
yeah. Oh man. The movie is Ip Man.
oh, great movie. Love
Like
it.
it's ridiculous. It is hokey as all get out. Like I'm not saying it's the finest bit of filmmaking ever, nor am I saying it's the most realistic fighting ever.
It's fun though.
But man, is it fun.
Yeah.
Like I just put it off. I put it on in the background and then just do work while it's on the TV. So it's my very, very common just to have on in the background movie.
Nice. Okay. TV show?
For TV show, I know I'm going to have a great answer after I hop off of here. And it'll be the spirit of the elevator wit or staircase wit. But yeah, I'm just totally blanking on a TV series.
Are you a Cobra Kai guy? You gotten to that yet?
Oh yeah, I love that series, and a thing I really appreciate about it is my fiance doesn't share the kung fu bug.
Okay.
So for her to love Cobra Kai that much was deeply appreciated by me. Like I loved that I could share that, and she was like, "This is a great show. This is great." I'm like, "See, it's awesome."
Nice.
So that was fantastic.
I have not got my wife to watch it yet. I'm still trying to get her to watch it. That's my goal. My daughter loves it. My 14-year-old daughter. It's probably her favorite. That and The Mandalorian are her two favorite shows right now. That's great. Yep. Cool. And I thought of one other thing. You mentioned a podcast. Are you currently doing one or?
I am. Yeah. I don't want to. I don't leverage your podcast.
Give it a plug. I'll put a link in the show notes too. So.
Well, thank you. It's Mind Reader University, and the reason it came to be is doing the mind reading shows. And one of the most common questions I get was, "Did you go to college to learn how to do this?" And for the longest time, I thought that was a really dumb question. But then I realized, no, that is a very logical, smart question. Like, there's School of Music, you can go to college for anything. So there's not a college for mind reading. So I just figured, you know what? I should probably start sharing all the mindset and motivation and memory tricks and just all the applied psychology stuff that I've been using on stage and off stage that I've learned. Okay, let me do that. And then it grew because then people always say, "Oh, I'd love to pick your brain." And I was like, a mind reader actually picks brains. Like, that's the person who actually picks brains. So the setup is Mind Reader University picking the brains of the world's biggest thinkers. Nice. So then I just have conversations with people and ask them really dumb questions so that they'll give us really smart answers. And it's just conversations with people doing cool stuff, crypto, MMA, death, all sorts of topics in areas of interest.
I'm going to subscribe. This looks really, I'm just looking at it and I just noticed Scott Adams, man, the creator of Dilbert. I'll definitely be listening. That sounds like I love podcasts. I mean, I got hooked on them.
That was a kind of a personal trophy. Scott Adams was my first guest before the podcast was real.
Wow.
So people talk about influence and persuasion. Mm-hmm. If you can persuade somebody who's so well known for persuasion to be a part of a project that doesn't exist yet, what level of persuasion is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. pretty darn good.
Hey, it's kind of like mine. I have, after this coming Friday, I'll have almost 25 episodes recorded before I even launch the show. So
dude, that's awesome.
I've convinced a lot of martial artists, and one of my other podcasts I do another one, completely different subject, but I had almost 40 done before I launched. So
dude,
yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm good at convincing people of stuff too. So.
Yep, it's a superpower.
That's great. That's great. Cool. Well, I just want to thank you, Jonathan, for taking the time to chat with us, and I will definitely put all these links that I see in here, about your podcast and your books and everything else you're doing in our show notes, and I truly appreciate hearing your story. I love it. It's not a typical martial arts story, so I've really enjoyed hearing it.
Well, it's always an honor and a privilege to be able to share my thoughts. So I genuinely thank you for the opportunity to ask me questions to share my story.
Nice. Well, I've enjoyed it a lot. Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.